Ken, I am delighted to welcome you back to the show, and we've got a very special guest today. We're joined by Adam Johnson, the lectern guy. I think everybody knows Adam, and it's going to be a real treat. We've got a lot to discuss today about the DOJ going absolutely wild. Now, both of you guys have been following this case of, is his name Patrick Scruggs? Is he the guy, Ken? Tell us what's going on with this lunatic, please.
Well, yeah, I think Adam's been following him more closely than I have because he's got kind of a personal relationship, if you want to call it that. But so the reason I got into this story recently is that the DOJ Inspector General issued this little, not really interesting report on a DOJ lawyer that recently retired amidst an investigation. He got into a bar fight and he was probably going to get fired anyways, but, you know, he retired. And that just reminded me of the Patrick Scruggs case. So I looked that up to see what's going on with Scruggs. And I found about a 2-month-old article where it reveals that his victim, the guy who he stabbed, was actually a confidential informant. So, yeah, I wrote a story on that. It kind of went semi-viral. I think Adam commented on it. And, yeah, now here we are all together to discuss.
Well, what do you guys think the implications of that are? I mean, it sounds sort of crazy to the uninitiated. Adam, what do you make of that? Did you know, you've been to the hearings, to the trial, did you know there were confidential informants involved like this? The guy getting stabbed was a confidential informant?
This broke about half of the case, and it's been about 1.5 years now since the incident first happened. And it turned out that he is a confidential informant. And what the defense is arguing is that he is getting special treatments. He's getting protected by the states because he is a confidential informant. And I believe the argument they're trying to make is that because he is a confidential informant, they didn't give him a drug test or a breathalyzer test when he was at the scene or in the hospital. That is the argument I believe they are leaning towards.
Uh-huh. Wow. But I mean, doesn't it have broader implications? Like, first of all, let's take a step back, because I think there's some people who aren't as familiar with this story as you two guys are. This guy, Patrick Scruggs, what was he? A U.S. attorney? He was a prosecutor going after you, Adam, among other January 6th defendants. And Ken, what have you got? You've discovered you've got some legal documents or something here, depositions and stuff. What do we got here?
Oh, yeah. So if you do a word search for informant, that'll just, take us to the relevant sections where he's asked about it. Yeah, I think you might be hinting at, like, did Scruggs actually know this guy? And of course, that's a total reasonable question when it's kind of these weird cases. But according to the deposition, he was an informant for the county. I think he was supervised by some state attorney, and he did testify in the deposition that he wasn't an informant at the time of the stabbing, and he's not now. So, yeah.
So that's what do they say in AA? Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. Once an informant, always an informant. So,
I wholeheartedly agree. I'm just trying to, steel man their side of the case.
Wow. Sure. He's like, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to stab. I won't stab again. But I mean, so not only is the guy a prosecutor, he got into a road rage incident. He goes up to this guy and just repeatedly stabs him. The guy lived, the informant guy lived, obviously. What's the status of the case, Ken? What's going to happen to this guy? They're basically letting him go, right?
Small caveat, sorry. He didn't just stab him, he broke his window and then stabbed him.
So that's why his hand is cut in the photos.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think he claims that, he was going to try to break the window and use the knife to cut the seatbelt and just get the guy out of the car so he wasn't a danger anymore. But I just watched the footage again on Adam's Twitter feed, and it shows, like, he turns to a guy who was shooting video and threatens, it looks like to me like he threatens the guy who was shooting the video. The guy kind of backs up, and then he turns back to Sharp, the informant. It's an unfortunate name for a guy who got stabbed. And he, stabs him a couple times. Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a guy.
This guy looks like a killer, Ken. Look at this. I mean, he's stabbing him like he's been in prison for 15 years, right? I mean...
The two people who approached Scruggs in that video were the first people who were at the scene and tried to wake this guy up. He had passed out at the wheel. He claimed he had a medical emergency. We don't know. We weren't there. Tests weren't given. So we can speculate, but we can't prove. The two individuals that walked to the car to check on Sharp, they backed off when they saw Scruggs allegedly break the window and to stab him. They came to help Sharp. Scruggs then threatened them, pulling the knife on them, pointing at them, saying, "Are you going to try to kill me too?" This is on record. This is on file. So he stabbed one person and threatened two others.
Wow. Wow.
And
So he thought these guys were trying to kill him? Is that what he's getting at there?
Yes. They're leaning in towards a self-defense strategy here, his attorneys, the defense. And I know they have a bench trial on May 2nd. I'm going to be there with Viva Fry. So we'll be covering this in person.
Wow.
yeah, I saw on the docket today. It's a motion hearing. He's gonna try to argue a motion to dismiss on the grounds of like the castle law. I don't have an idea how he plans to argue that when he's the guy,
Well,
trying to
Florida
break-
statute articulates this very clearly. If you stand your ground, includes your domicile, right, where you live, and your vehicle, extension of your castle. Once you leave that and pursue someone, that is no longer stand your ground. It's actually very clearly written.
Smash your window.
You cannot enter someone else's domicile and proceed to stab them. You can't do that. And that is what he did by breaking the window. The most important charge here is the breaking and entering. That is the most important charge because that's how you prove it was not self-defense.
We should just add, none of us are lawyers. This is not legal advice. These are just our observations. I do appreciate your insights, though, Adam. I mean, you've been through the ringer with the law. And that's the irony. We're laughing right now. But, I mean, this is a guy who is prosecuting you. He's supposed to be, he's an officer of the court. He's supposed to be upholding the law. I mean, this is absolutely DOJ gone friggin' wild. And so, Adam, you were getting the impression that they were maybe they're going to let him off or something. What do you think is happening now?
I think the whole thing has been handled with kids' gloves. I've been at every single hearing, and I've been to several hearings of my own. And the way the defense and the prosecution typically work with the judge is if you have an issue, you bring it up in court. I have not seen a single instance where the state is bringing up a single issue at any request that the defense is bringing up in front of the judge. Not a single denial, not a single motion. They're working with all the dates, all the times. Whatever the defense is asking for, the state is just going along with. This is kids' gloves.
There's a single district court judge anywhere in the nation who is on the level. And Ken, your observations of the case, what's going to happen to this guy?
I was just going to say, it seems like he has more of an argument that he was trying to make some kind of citizen's arrest than like standing his ground. I think maybe you could argue like, oh, this guy was going to run over other people. He was drunk and I was just trying to stop him. Still, that doesn't just, you don't stab somebody when you're arresting them. But I just don't see how he's going to have a leg to stand on. But, with this justice system, I guess anything goes.
Yeah, Good Samaritan defense or something like that. There's a lot of other crazy stuff going on that you guys are covering at Headline USA. This story about Jewish protesters storming Trump Tower, this was just breaking right now. What do you know about this?
Yeah, this is over that guy that they're trying to deport, the Columbia. Well, he's not a student anymore, but he was a pro-Palestine activist. And I don't know how much you want to get into that, but I just tried to emphasize that they are Jewish protesters because, I'm a right-wing guy. I'm in conservative media, but I kind of find it disgusting that they're getting smeared as pro-Hamas. And we've got guys calling them, to charge them as, terrorist sympathizers. And it's like, are we really going to do the same thing that the left just did for 4 years, guys? Or can we just try to, be principled and stand up for, the constitutional rights and, the right to protest and those issues.
Do you know what I found most interesting about it? I'm not sure if either of you guys have had an opportunity to follow what's been going on for me in New York over the past couple days, but
Oh,
Ken,
wait,
are
you
you?
have 66.6 thousand
I know.
followers.
I got to get
We've got
100
to
in
fix.
there. I got to
We've
get
got to
100.
fix that today. I'm going to help you.
Thank you. Yeah, I got to get 100 in there pretty quickly. But I want to talk about this protest for a second because, Ken, I like the point that you just raised. And see, the thing is, I view this whole Israel-Palestine thing as a narrative that they're trying to polarize society over. I want to bring you guys' attention to this thing. Ken, are you familiar with this person who goes by the name Crackhead Barney? Have you seen her?
Yeah. Isn't she like a Black Lives Matter activist who kind of she was
We don't know exactly what she is.
okay.
She's something. She gained national notoriety when she had basically assaulted Alec Baldwin inside a coffee shop. And I don't know if we want to spend so much time on her, but she was basically outside the Tesla dealership. We don't need to play the video, but the thing I'm getting at is she was outside the Tesla dealership at what was being sold to us as some sort of organic protest. And I've known this person for, she's pursued me around the city for around, 4 years. And she always seems to be in the vicinity of certain other individuals and the police. There's this interesting unit in the police called the Community Affairs Unit. This guy right here is Sergeant Matola. He's wearing the Community Affairs outfit. It's not the same as the normal uniformed NYPD outfit. It's this really almost iridescent royal blue color, whereas normal uniformed officers are wearing the standard almost black, very dark blue. And what I noticed after, this girl assaults me, she sticks things in her vagina and rubs them on my face. Truly disgusting person. And I noticed after this encounter, she's wearing the same colors in her hat and in these pants. And with true undercover, like dangerous work, infiltrating gangs and things like that, I happen to know the NYPD uses a system called the undercover color of the day, so that uniformed officers can recognize undercover NYPD officers. I think this might be some version of that. And stay with me, guys. I know this is getting long-winded, but the reason why I wanted to bring this to both of your attention in the context of what's going on at Trump Tower is that this guy, Sergeant Matola, he seems to show up everywhere. We had this protest outside City Hall 2 days ago. There he is. And this is a totally different jurisdiction where he just was over
That
there.
was my
By
first question. Yeah.
It's a totally different jurisdiction from the Tesla dealership and totally different jurisdiction than Trump Tower, where he is right now. I happen to spot him in this. There he is. Boom, right there. And the other thing is, how does, Ken, you and I are in the independent news business. Adam, you're more of an independent celebrity and January 6th rock star.
Oh,
but
God.
how does Olya Scootercaster get the scoop on all these staged NYPD events? I don't get it. She's very, very good. Better than me.
And I want to know how they got in that building in the first place.
Questions.
Does the Secret Service guard Trump Tower?
Normally, there is a heavy Secret Service presence. Definitely during Trump 1.0. It was relaxed when he was no longer president. But it's an excellent question. How did this many people wearing the same shirts? I mean, I guess they had jackets on. It's conceivable that they could have snuck in, but come on. This is property owned by the President of the United States. Every condominium in there is owned by a millionaire. You're telling me they don't have intelligence from the NYPD, understand who's coming in and out of this building, didn't monitor the internet? No. How did these people organize this with all these signs? This is created by the police. And here's this idiot, Matola, again. He's all over another video that Fox News had. I gotta find that. I don't think I have tweeted it yet, but it's definitely Matola. And for some reason, they will never arrest Crackhead Barney, who is Uniska Wahalakano. They will never arrest Oren Levi, who, in an attempt to threaten me, told me he's Mossad. I don't know if that's true or not. They just don't arrest these people. They seem to be there to agitate the crowd, to polarize both sides. I'm sorry to monopolize the conversation. Adam, what do you think about what I'm saying here? Crazy or something to it?
Well, I think I met a bunch of the NYPD. We actually both did in DC, correct? Right, the whole bicycle unit, right?
Yes, we
and
did.
You have you're less than indifferent with them. I would bet to wager, but you live with them. My question is always, are these people facilitators or are they the movers, right? Are they the people who are actually allowing these things to happen, or are they just paid, hey, this thing is happening, you're on payroll? Because I don't think, do they have that much power in New York to organize at that high of a level? That is my question. I know the NYPD is a massive force, and they probably employ more officers than, God, probably anywhere else, if I had to guess, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Largest law enforcement agency, I believe, in the world.
I think I read that at some point. So do they have the ability to facilitate that type of organization to where they are, and who's funding it, right? Can they traffic money through the NYPD, which is supposed to be open source, you can see where dollars are moving, or are they having offshoots, some C3, some C4, some NGO that's facilitating and funding that type of operation? So I have a hard time. Is everyone who's involved nefarious? Are some people willingly ignorant? Are some people going along with it? I think that there are populations in every field that get stratified. But for me to look at it and say everything's bad, everything's wrong, I can't do that, right? And that's where I have a hard time talking about these things, where it's like I met a bunch of NYPD guys that were super nice to me. They took pictures. They knew who I was. And a lot of them are excited that we're getting back to what I believe is a back the blue, in a sense of we shouldn't be hitting cops and cops shouldn't be hitting people for no reason.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Definitely don't mean to say anything that should encourage anyone to take any action whatsoever. Certainly not like Mr. Scruggs, who is a lunatic. Do not condone violence at all. And thank you for saying that, Adam. I really, you know what? I forgot to mention at the top of this, impressed by your master barbecue skills and preparations. You've got such a team of fine young men there that you are preparing hearty meals for. It's really impressive.
Well, they cook as well. We are the mindset that there have been a couple of generations of men that have made their way into the world that don't know how to exist and survive. And it does mean, like, you should know how to do your laundry. You should know how to cook a meal. Like, all these basic principles, you should know how to start investing at a young age. So when you hit 50 years old, you don't have to work forever because you had your 401ks and your Roths, you're diversified. So we're just trying to make men.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so impressed with you every time we speak, man. It's all great advice. It's all great advice. Adam should have like a father show, how to be a good dad. But anyway, back to the story. Ken, I know I tend to go more towards the conspiracy, but again, I've been looking at this for 8 years, and I see the same people down in Collect Pond Park. They're always trying to agitate me, trying to get me arrested. I had that case against the city of New York. They totally buried my evidence, refused to look at it, consider any of it. What do you think about all this?
Clearly, law enforcement had to have had foreknowledge about what was going to happen today. I mean, there's just decades and decades of history of, the FBI and other law enforcement agents having infiltrated left-wing and right-wing groups. Often if they find out like Nazis are going to have a rally in Columbus, Ohio, they'll tip off Antifa to make sure Antifa's there. And, likewise, tipping off right-wing groups that left-wingers are going to protest. So there's no doubt in my mind they had foreknowledge. Did they let it happen just to, divide the country more? And, that it could just be sheer incompetence, a resource issue, who knows? But I'm sure they had foreknowledge.
I agree. They must have. I mean, it seems impossible to I mean, again, we don't want to go to the depth of like trying to figure out why. That's what the next step that obviously everybody always wants to hear, but that would be pure speculation. You've got some other great stories here on Headline USA, and I should remind people that Adam is going to stay with us, and we're going to be doing a sponsor exclusive segment after all of this. It'll be available, Adam, right, to your subscribers on X, or no? Yeah, it will. Okay.
Yeah, we'll
great. And also people will be able to get it by sponsoring Ken on Substack at substack.com/@KenSilva, all the regular Crowdsource the Truth channels, of course. Ken, what's going on with this guy, this whistleblower? You had a lot of info on him, and I remember this guy. Why does he look like he's 12? How is he whistleblowing on the third grade?
Yeah, he's not much older. I think he was like 21 at the time of his arrest, and he had access to, confidential, or top secret war planning documents in relation to what's going on in Ukraine. And so I'm sure most people remember that in late 2023 and early 2024, all these documents about the war started appearing online. And then this 21-year-old National Air Guardsman named Jack Teixeira was blamed. At the time, a lot of people questioned, like, well, is this kid a patsy? Is he taking the fall? It really looks like he was the leaker. He hung out on a Discord gaming platform, and there's tons of credible reporting about how he was leaking the documents on there. A lot of people don't consider him a whistleblower. They say he was leaking documents on Discord just because he's an edgelord. He was trying to, impress his friends. He was sentenced to 15 years in prison in federal court a couple months ago. And today he had a court martial. I think he's set to be sentenced in any time now. And this is the first time where we've gotten real strong, credible evidence that, yes, he did this in his capacity as a whistleblower to expose what's going on over in Ukraine. So in my book, this kid's a hero. He should probably be pardoned, and we should probably treat him like an Edward Snowden more than how he's being treated as just some kind of like leaker edgelord by the mainstream media.
Forgive my ignorance, but what is an edgelord?
Just like a guy who, says, racially charged things or, anti-women things just to get around, like a troll kind of.
Got it.
For the gram. For the gram.
For the gram. Yeah.
Doing it for the gram. Now, what's interesting, in our last show, Ken, or maybe 2 shows ago, you had introduced me to that X user BX who was talking all about that. Is it 764 or the different online radicalization with the accelerationism? It almost sounds, Discord and all this stuff, we're always hearing about all this crazy stuff kind of like festering in these weird online environments. The only reason I bring it up is because it's just so ripe for deception, right? Social engineering. You always talk about these stories where the FBI finds people who, for whatever reason, are vulnerable to a certain type of attack vector and set them up, right?
Well, thank you for bringing that up, because I think that's one of the most crucial parts about this case is that in response to these leaks appearing on Discord, the Biden administration launched this effort to enhance surveillance of gaming platforms. And I do have some reporting on that. There's a GAO report last year that talked about the FBI partnering with Discord and Steam and these other platforms, infiltrating. We know Thomas Crooks was on these types of platforms, a bunch of other mass shooters. That the Buffalo shooter of early 2023 was talking to a, quote, retired federal agent on Discord like 20 minutes before he shot up the top supermarket. So, yeah, these are cesspools of extremism. And, yeah, that's my article right there about how, the FBI worked to increase engagement with gaming and gaming adjacent companies. That was the rub, the upshot of this Discord Jack Teixeira leaks case.
Wow.
We talk a lot about how the internet's a great thing. We open up conversation. I can reach you wherever you are, and we can share media news. We're very connected. Things can be learned in real time, but we never consider the opposite side of the coin. We basically opened up MK Ultra on a very, very quick basis through Discord, through servers, through chat rooms, through local communities. If we think it's just a positive thing, understand the enemy, probably, I say the enemy, there are those that mean to destroy us, right? Through any means necessary. And all these things that are great, all of these things that we get to share and to talk, they're also being used against us. So be careful what you say, because the internet is forever.
Absolutely correct. And that's good advice from a dad. It's got to be quite, harrowing to have all these young men that you're trying to raise in this world where I don't know how you even deal with it. But we're about to head on over to our sponsor exclusive segment. Before we do that, Adam, your charity, that it's such a noble cause where you're raising money for people who've been wrongly imprisoned. And forgive me, I've forgotten the URL. I know you're doing all the things to get the legal ducks in a row. I'm not sure if you're ready yet. What can you tell us about it?
The website goes up next week. And so caveat here, Part of my pardon was allowed me to actually raise finances for myself. My plea deal prohibited me from raising any type of money for my attorney fees. There was $100,000. I've put out another $150,000 in my own money traveling and talking about January 6th. So I have an LLC now. We are donating 51% of every dollar that comes in, a profit, to my charity, Help Take a Stand. And 100% of that charity will go to kids who have parents who are in prison, because you should care about them. You should be indifferent because they did nothing wrong. And the state's barely taking care of it. The community should. So that's what we're doing.
It's awesome.
Wow, that is awesome, really. And, I'm really pleased to be able to share the word with people about that. Until the website is up, people can follow it on X at @helptakeastand_, right? Is that you?
That is me.
There we go. And it's just been started. I get it now. That's fantastic.
It took me a couple seconds.
Yeah. Oh, Adam, the sense of humor is absolutely fantastic. Stay with us, everybody. You can join us. Subscribe to Ken on substack.com/@KenSilva. Any of the Crowdsource the Truth channels. If you're subscribed to Adam, the Lectern guy, he is Lectern Leader on X. Join us. We're going to have a lot more fun and a lot of stuff